Hi, this is Amy Woodard, and I'm with Krista Wisniewski, who is our art teacher here at Seton Hall Prep. And I had the opportunity to observe her today teaching a first grade art lesson. So we're going to start our video right now.
By accident, I stole this from my books.
Thank you, honey. We're going to keep going. Okay. So, first of all, Krista, thank you so much for allowing me to come and observe your class today.
Absolutely.
So my first question is, were you happy with how your lesson turned out today?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. So what was your learning objective for your students?
They needed to learn how to mix colors correctly in the clay and also establish the differences in how to identify a sugar skull rather than a regular skeleton or something else.
Okay. So maybe we'll just let you know that. Do you want to just tell them really quick what you did, just in case you want
sure.
to know?
So in the lesson, I collaborated with the Spanish teacher. We're working on Dia de los Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead, and it's celebrated in Mexico. And the idea is that on this day, everyone celebrates their relatives who have passed away, and to commemorate them, they create these things called sugar skulls, which are super colorful decorated skeleton heads that have sort of the spirit of their relatives that have passed away. So they're all making their own sugar skull.
Okay. So my question is, how successful do you think the lesson was?
I definitely think that they learned everything they were supposed to for that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you know they've learned everything? Like how did you assess that they had learned the concept and everything? What were some of your checks and balances for them?
Well, there's a couple different things I do. I'll ask them questions and have them repeat back to me. I make sure to pick on different students, especially the ones that I think may have not have retained the information, just to check. And then I also, because art is very visual, I can see with the objects that they're making whether they're really making that connection and understanding.
We teaching everybody. That's a challenge of a specialist. You see everybody. How do you account for the students on different levels in your classroom? Because, for example, we're going to use an example of Ezra. Ezra is a student who's a very low level student, and it was, for me, it's a great opportunity to see him not in music, to see him in a different environment. How do you assess a student, or how do you change your instruction when dealing with a student who is on a much lower level than the rest of the class?
Right. Ezra needs a lot of hands-on extra help and time to work on assignments, so I make sure he's the first, the middle, and the last student that I always come to. I first meet with him, and I tell him after I explain to everybody else what we are doing and try to make it clear and ask him if he understands. Sometimes that means actually getting physical and showing him, and then, so for instance with the clay, I would show him how to separate it into the balls, smush it back together, and then have him do it in front of me. And then sometimes also the other kids are really helpful with helping Ezra, and they'll let me know if he's struggling with something. Like you saw in class today, one of them sitting next to him said, "Oh, Ezra's not doing the right colors." So then even they'll help me out and letting me know, and then I come back to Ezra, and then I clarify anything he might be confused on and help set him.
I just want to praise you for a couple of things that I really saw. First of all, I loved your anticipatory set as you started your lesson off, and we asked them what prior knowledge they had. I really liked that your directions were very clear and concise, so the students understood what their expectations were. Not only did she verbally give them directions on the TV screen, it was on the step by step of what the students had to do as well. So I don't think there was any issue with clarity. I think sometimes when we teach, sometimes our objectives aren't clear, and the kids are like, wait, what am I supposed to do? Wait, why do I have this marker? But I want to commend that your students knew exactly what to do and the procedures of your classroom. What I was going to ask you, did you depart from your lesson plan anyway? Did you change anything up than what you initially started?
Definitely.
Yeah.
In every lesson, you know that there's always parts you have to adapt. I anticipated and thought that perhaps they'd be able to color all their pieces of clay and also assemble the details onto the skeletons, but I saw as time went on, it was taking them a little bit longer to color the clay, and it was really important that they had those bright colors, so I knew that the only thing they were going to be able to do today was color the clay as soon as they started. So I really emphasized, getting those colors done and how to put them away the right way and making them bright.
Which brings me to your procedures that you have in your class. I thought it was really interesting that you have a time when you set the timer, especially for children that age, that okay, we have 10 minutes to clean up. So they know, especially when you're doing art projects, that this is our time it takes to clean up. So I really want to commend you on that. What do you think your strengths are as an educator? What are your strengths?
I think the procedure usually is always the same, so I'm pretty good with time management. Once you establish a pretty clear procedure, it's pretty easy to make sure they have the right amount of time for each step, including discussions and understanding and actually making the artwork. And then also, I think I'm pretty clear when it comes to the actual art making part on knowing how to start that process and helping them with making that jump from words to visual and kinesthetic.
How do you feel that this class was compared to your other first grade class that you taught?
This first grade class is actually a little bit further than my other first grade classes, which is weird because there's some strong personalities in that class. But I find sometimes that these strong personalities take a leadership role, so
Got it.
they sort of lead the class in more along in the lesson and help get them done quicker, more effectively, and nicely with the lesson. So
yeah, I'm looking at my notes, and I really liked that you constantly checked for their understanding of the students about mixing the colors and the directions. I love, like I said, that your objective was on the board. Pre-brainstorming sheets. So Krista had these sheets that students had designed their own skulls. I like that as you went around and they had to count the colors, and especially the students who were having a little bit trouble, you sat there and counted with them. So I want to say that's great. I talked about Ezra, yeah. I loved that the students were so happy and interested in your class. A lot of times, when our students come to our specials, they have been sitting tight for a long time, and especially in art class, they want to touch this or they want to touch that. So that really speaks to your classroom management skills. So if you had to change this lesson again, how would you change it?
I think some of them didn't understand when they did the brainstorming sheet that this is exactly how they're going to create that skull. So some of them made really elaborate designs, and then when it came to making those colors for the design and they're thinking about putting it on the skull, they're like, oh no, there's so much to do.
When Ishana said, when that bell went off, oh my goodness, I have like a gazillion colors I have to make. And you gave her the solution of, well, would you like to redo your brainstorming activity so you don't have as many colors? That was a great adaptation to her. So that's a good reflection on your part. I guess my last question is, what are some different aspects that you could have taught the same objective? If I said, how would you teach this to a kindergarten class? Well, no, let's change that up. How would you teach it to, again, here at our school, we're pre-K 3 to 8. So let's say you wanted to teach the similar concept to a 7th or 8th grade class. What type of lesson would you use for that?
Well, I actually do Dia de los Muertos with those classes too, but it's at a different level. So 7th or 8th grade, they can handle more advanced materials. So in 1st grade, they use model magic, as you saw, which is a very easy to manipulate clay. So for 7th or 8th grade, it's totally possible for them to use a different kind of air dry clay that's harder to manipulate and challenges their skills on a deeper level. And then I also have them think about color symbolism. So instead of just creating these bright colors, they have to think a little bit deeper about what those colors mean.
So let's tie into where's our next lesson going. So the kids are working on their colors. Can you project me the next 2, 3, 4 lessons where they're going to be?
Oh, I have to think. We have so many lessons.
For the 1st grade, let's say in the next 2 or 3 weeks, what do you think? Are they still working on their skulls, or?
Yeah, the next week, hopefully they'll get some of their designs on there. Some of them are still coloring parts of their clay, so they're going to have to finish that. Some of them will probably start putting the designs on. So it's probably going to take 2, maybe 3 more classes to finish the skulls.
Now, I really like that you collaborated with the Spanish teacher. How was the collaboration process for you?
With her, it's great. Not every teacher is so open and flexible. So she and I talked about the important symbols of Dia de los Muertos and thought about how to incorporate them. So sugar skulls was a nice idea for the first grade. She thought about coloring in designs on the masks, and then I said maybe we should actually make them, have a 3D sugar skull inspired clay piece, you know, take it from 2D to 3D, and then use the coloring sheets as a brainstorming.
I love this. What's another way that you can possibly start with that collaboration, but further it with maybe another subject area, another teacher? Is there anything that comes to mind for that?
In second grade, actually, they painted marigolds, which is the symbolic flower of Dia de los Muertos, but they're also talking about observation and science.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. So you're correlating with the science teacher.
Exactly. So we talked about visual observations, and they take those marigolds, which they know are symbol for Dia de los Muertos, and then they take it into the science classroom and study them about how they take in the sun and the water and how that feeds the plants. So
Wonderful.
3 steps there.
Well, Crystal, again, I want to commend you on excellent classroom management, clarity in your lesson planning, the fact that the students, were having fun and being happy in your class too, but also learning how to mix colors and how to work with the model and clay. And I just want to say how impressed I was with your lesson. I want to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Again, this is Krista Wisniewski. She is our art specialist. It was a first grade lesson, and I am Amy Woodard. Thank you. Bye.